What's up, guys? Eric here, Mr. Fired Up Wealth. Excited today to bring you video number 2 in the series. That's the top cloud stocks. Now, we covered last time numbers 6 through 10. So today we're going to cover stock 1 through 5, my top 5 cloud stocks. And I'm really excited about this video and these stocks. These are the ones that get me most excited. You're going to want to watch this whole video because I've got some hidden nuggets throughout it. I've got a couple Easter eggs throughout it, and I've got a ton of bonus picks. So definitely watch this video from start to finish. I think you'll learn a lot from it. Definitely do subscribe to the channel. This is the type of stuff I cover all the time. I've got a playlist that is all about cloud that covers all these stocks in more detail if you're interested. But I'm so excited about this video, guys. This is the area for me that I have most conviction in, I have the most experience and knowledge in, and I just get excited knowing what these stocks are going to be worth in the future. They're all expensive right now. There's no question they're expensive right now. But if you understand the growth trajectory and what is in front of us, when you think of the Internet of Things, you think of cloud, you think of SaaS, you think of the opportunity, these secular growth trends, these companies, the opportunity is amazing in front of them. Will they all succeed? Maybe not. But the chances are that all these stocks are going to be multi-baggers, even from these levels. Even though they've climbed a lot, it's hard to really see and understand just what the total addressable market is, because people just, if you don't work in this space, you think, well, it's COVID and it was fueled by COVID, and when COVID goes away, these stocks are going to get hurt. No, things like cybersecurity and really all the stocks in this list, they're important before COVID, during COVID, and after COVID. And we're in early innings of cloud. There's a lot of run room left. There's a lot of total addressable market to be captured. And these stocks are what I think are the best of breed that can capture that total addressable market, capture that market share, and in return, make some great gains for your portfolio. These are growth stocks. They're about high risk, high reward. But the thing about these stocks, guys, is they're not YOLO stocks. The chances of these companies being successful long-term are very, very high. I'm excited to bring this video to you. Without further ado, let's get started. All right, guys, I'm hyped for this video. Hope you're excited. This is going to be a great one. Please watch the entire video. Make sure you subscribe, hit the like button, drop me a comment. Number five is going to be Zscaler, ticker ZS. This is a stock that's not covered really at all on YouTube. I did cover it back in either 2019 or 2020. And I did a video, top 3 growth stocks I'm buying for the next decade. And it actually didn't do very well. I got a lot of negative comments on it. Zscaler is on it. It's up, I think, 400% since that video, something like that, 300 or 400%. It's done very well. Now, this is a top cloud stock, and it kind of fits into what I call the 4 horsemen. Okay, so the 4 horsemen, and I'll talk more about that later, the 4 horsemen of cybersecurity, and we'll get to that here in a little bit, so stay tuned. So Zscaler, I could spend a lot of time in each of these stocks. I mean, literally, I could spend an hour in each one. I'm going to give you high-level information. Subscribe to the channel. Check out some other videos that go deeper dive. There's a playlist called Eric's Favorite Cloud Stocks. Check out that playlist above, and you can watch all the videos that cover cloud on the channel. I used to work in the cloud space. I used to actually sell software as a service as well as infrastructure and platform as a service. And I did work for Oracle back in the day and sold even on-prem. So I've kind of been through that whole journey from on-prem to hybrid to that SaaS model, and experienced it all from soup to nuts. So this is something I'm really passionate about and have a lot of information and background on, a lot of friends that still work in the industry. So Zscaler Internet Access. Okay, so Zscaler Internet, it delivers security stack as a service from the cloud. Okay. And it eliminates the cost and complexity of having a traditional secure web gateway approach. Basically, let's put this in simple terms, okay? So back before is the data center. The data center was the center of gravity, right? When applications resided there, it made sense to backhaul traffic from branch offices, basically the security done on the back end. As applications move to the cloud, the center of gravity has moved with it, away from those databases. Traffic oftentimes now goes straight to the cloud, bypassing the security perimeter. Additionally, today's complex threats have triggered an explosion of new security appliances, all finding their way into your overworked gateway. Okay, so administrators are in a constant battle to keep up with the required security updates for their appliances, the complexity of deploying and managing these appliances, etc. And the costs are very, very high. Really, they're out of control for a lot of IT organizations. Furthermore, it's considered basically outdated infrastructure. So the solution to that, this is the 90s internet gateway, bad design, question mark. firewall kind of goes to that whole stack. And then it shows you here the new stack, right? And this is kind of a snapshot of what they do. So you think of, you've got on the top Google 365, Salesforce CRM. We covered that in the last video. If you haven't seen the last video, the numbers 6 through 10. So this is a top 10 series in 2 videos. You can check out that last video. Salesforce is number 6 on the list. But you've got Salesforce, Workday, all those different applications going into Zscaler. You've got that default route to internet. And basically on the right-hand side, so you got the secure internet and web gateway as a service. It's interesting. There's another stock on the top 5 that's going to be covered in this video that competes with these guys, that they're kind of new in the space. But Zscaler is really best of breed when you think of this type of architecture, and it's one of my 4 horsemen is what we call it in Discord. So Zscaler Internet Access delivers a completely integrated gateway that inspects all ports and protocols, even across SSL. So you've got threat prevention, you've got everything from the proxy to the cloud sandbox to DNS. You've got the access control, the cloud firewall. You've got the access control in the middle, cloud firewall. You've got the URL filtering, you got DNS resolution. On the right-hand side, data protection. So cloud DLP. A lot of big words here, maybe acronyms that you don't know, but hopefully it paints a good picture of what these guys do. It's really about, you think of data security and traffic, right? So basically you just point your traffic to the Zscaler cloud, okay? For offices, you can set up a tunnel from your edge router. And for mobile, you can use Zscaler Client Connector or a PAC file, PAC file. So that's kind of a quick snapshot of what Zscaler is all about. Hey guys, I just got done making this video and I got done editing it. It took me the entire day, and I'm cutting this in closer to the front of the video to tell you that there's so much information in this video. I encourage you, I think you'll regret it if you don't watch this entire video. And there's no way to really bookmark it. I was going to put, timelines or timestamps into the video to say here, here, and here. It's just completely filled with information. Boom, 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 boom. If you can't watch it all in one sitting, definitely come back. YouTube will save your spot and you can literally leave. You can come back. It'll be right where you left off. So if you're interested in cloud stocks, it is filled with information from A to Z. This thing's about 55 minutes long, but I guarantee it's worth your time. Thanks for watching. Stay tuned. Some quick additional highlights on Zscaler, a leader in cloud security, enabling new zero trust architecture to protect hyper-connected world of users, customers, devices, and workloads. That's a great sentence, I think, just to sum up what Zscaler really is all about. So here's some quick numbers on your screen. I'm not going to read them all, but you can see 4,500 customers. You can see their billings growth year over year has grown. Their dollar-based NRR, net retention rate, 122%. Which is a solid number. They've got 7 billion security incidents, 150 data centers globally. And that's a big key, I think, when you look at, there's another stock on this list that has their own data centers globally. I think that's really important because that allows speed and agility, okay? And you think of edge cloud and things like that, and you think of, stocks like Fastly and Cloudflare, et cetera. You think of edge cloud. So zero trust architecture, you're going to hear it again later. I think this does a good job too. So zero trust exchange in the middle. You've got everything from Internet of Things. You've got factories. You've got customers, data centers. You've got your AWS, your Azure, everything going to this zero trust architecture. So here's their bread and butter, and this is why they're really on the list. They are unquestionably the leader. If you look at the magic quadrant, the very top right, Zscaler. So this is for security. This is secure web gateway security, and they blow the doors off the competition. And this is really why businesses use Zscaler. They've got some other products that they kind of bolt onto that, and they've got opportunity to cross-sell and upsell from that. But this is their bread and butter, and it's important for you to understand that. So the whole series talks about how you can capture gains in your portfolio with things like digital transformation. You think of things like Internet of Things. You think of streaming. You think of cybersecurity, all these different secular growth trends. Here's that word again, digital transformation, right? So protection across 186 countries, locations protected, 30,000, 1.3 million users protected. And you can see they do business with a lot of large companies, conglomerates, 7 of the top 10. You've got apparel, 6 of the top 10, and so on. So Zscaler is well respected, works with a lot of big companies. Cloud native zero trust exchange designed for cloud first world. All the stocks that we cover in the top 5 are going to be cloud native, designed in the cloud for the cloud. That's what this series is all about, right? So this is a great slide here. You can see zero zero trust exchange in the middle. So on the top, you've got your AWS, your Azure again, you got all the different things, mobile workforce factory on the bottom, everything connected into this zero trust exchange. Benefits of a cloud native design: minimizes the attack surface. Apps are invisible to the internet and only accessible via the zero trust exchange. Replace VPN. Basically just makes it harder for hackers. On the bottom right here, listen to this: reduces the risk of lateral threat movement. It uses user identity and context to connect a user to an app, not a network. That's key. Users and apps are never on the same network, makes it much harder for cyber criminals. I think a lot of people don't really invest in these cloud type stocks just because they don't understand them. And I completely get it. And I've got people that have followed me for a year that are in Discord, and questions still come up. I think that most people will tell you, the Fired Up Wealth followers, especially the ones in Patreon and Discord. And if you're interested in joining that, just check out, you can Google Fired Up Wealth, Patreon, go check out the different tiers. That gives you access to Discord. But the people in there will tell you they've learned a lot about cloud, and it's certainly a very large and complex universe. There's lots of different pieces that go into a puzzle. If you're interested more about how all this works, check out the channel, subscribe to the channel, because there's videos. Again, there's a playlist above. There's a video that talks about, are we in a tech bubble? Are we in a cloud SaaS bubble? And it gives you a really good, it's about a 20-minute video, and I think it does a really good job of explaining what cloud and SaaS is all about. That video did not get as much respect as it deserved. People that followed really liked that video. Check out that video. You can get a link above. But if you aren't familiar with my background, I did work in this space, okay? So I understand a lot of these tools. I actually worked with a lot of these tools, had to partner with a lot of these vendors to make everything work together. And one thing I can tell you is that organizations, especially larger and complex organizations, they generally have a lot of different partners, a lot of different vendors that create this complex best of breed ecosystem, for an IT department in a company. Another thing, before I forget to mention this, if you're starting a business new today, you're probably going to start cloud native, right? Most new companies are going to do everything SaaS in the cloud, not have that on-premise data center. So when you think of on-prem, you have the data center at your location. Think of like servers in a room. You've got a team of DBAs and architects that have to update that. They have to patch all the software. They have to make sure everything works together. This is all done. You think of SaaS software, you think of in the cloud, it's all done, not on your location, so off-prem, and it's basically autonomous. So those updates are done for you. You don't have, save money, not having to have the staff. SaaS also offers organizations tremendous benefit when you think of switching from CapEx to OpEx. From an accounting perspective, it allows you to stretch your budget further. And that's something I talked about in that Motley Fool article that you probably already read. So let's move along. Datadog is number 4 on the list. This is a great company. It's a misunderstood company, I think, for the most part. Like most of the companies we talk about on this top 5, they're kind of branching into other areas, and they partner with a lot of these other companies. They also compete in certain areas. So it can be kind of a messy environment. You think, why can't they just have one company that does all this different stuff? There's really specializations, best of breed niches, and kind of like moats that these companies focus on. Now, Datadog, you could argue, doesn't have a supreme moat because there's lots of competition, but I think they're the best at what they do. So let me explain first what it is they do exactly. So in a nutshell, and I've got a couple employees that actually work for Datadog that are in the community, and they're probably going to reach out and say, hey, you forgot this and forgot that. I understand, trying to do this video, trying to make it as concise as I can. But when you think of Datadog from a high level, it basically offers a set of observability tools. So having insight into your organization in one dashboard, that's the simplest way that I can put it. So it allows those IT teams to look into their infrastructure, the hardware, the software, the network, all those different pieces at any time, anywhere, and really at any scale. So both large and small organizations can benefit. Most of the tools that we're talking about, in fact, are that way. You think of the stocks that we're covering on this list, they're very scalable, which I think is an important thing to understand. You can be a very small company and use these, and you can be very large, massive enterprises and use these businesses. So instead of having the information siloed, Datadog allows you to kind of put that into one central repository to have insight in what's going on in your business. So of course, benefits, better user experience, detection faster, so faster detection for any problems. You can provide resolutions at a faster speed, And it really allows for just better business decisions overall. And that's really what Datadog helps you do. So it's, as a salesperson, some of these stocks, some of these companies are very easy to sell to a management team because the ROI is there. And this is one where if I were selling Datadog, it'd be a great company to work for because I think I could paint a picture very well for a CIO of why that return on investment makes sense to invest in, something like Datadog for their IT department. So when you think of Datadog, I'm going to break down kind of their products. They've got infrastructure monitoring. So it provides real-time monitoring across the cloud, private cloud, and hybrid environments. They got what's called APM, that's application performance management, provides full visibility into the health and functioning of applications regardless of the deployment environment. They also do log management. They do user experience monitoring. They do network performance monitoring, security monitoring. That's something new that they're trying to branch more into, is the security part, incident management, et cetera. So, again, I could spend an hour going into what all that means, but that's essentially what they do in a nutshell. But I did the best I could to give you just a high-level overview of what Datadog's all about. Need to be concise for this video. It's number 4 on the list. I've owned it for a while. It's been a Discord buy. It's made a nice bounce off of the high 60s. Back into the hundreds. I think it probably goes higher from here. We've had a little bit of a sell-off this morning. This is why this whole series is telling you wait for the next dip to buy. If you would have done that, you could have got some of these stocks 3-4% less than a day or two ago. So definitely be patient. I always use dollar cost averaging. This is one that you had lots of opportunity to buy at lower levels. It's not, it's expensive. It really is over $100, but it's always hard to know, is it going to go back to that level or not? So definitely keep an eye on the charts. Use moving averages, use pivot points, use Fibonacci. If you don't know how to do that, you certainly can join Fired Up Wealth, join the Patreon. We teach all that in a masterclass series. We also have channels in Discord that talk about technicals, and you can even ask questions to me like, hey, what level do you think this stock might come down to? And I provide you real-time information, charts, and answers right in Discord too. So if that's something that would be interesting to you, definitely check out, again, Fired Up Wealth, Patreon, to get access to the Discord. Okay, so if you follow me or the channel, you knew that Snowflake was going to be on the list. Okay, so Snowflake is number 3. Now, this is a really tough decision between number 2 and 3. I kind of waffled on it. But what's interesting about this is by doing a little bit more research for this video, I actually swapped my number 2 and number 3. So I think there's tremendous opportunity for both of these companies. I actually have more conviction in the next 2 that I'm going to cover than Snowflake, but Snowflake is a high conviction. Now, the first thing I'm going to tell you, there's going to be people that are going to come on and they're going to say, I can't believe you'd recommend Snowflake. The thing is way too expensive. You're crazy. I agree that it's expensive. We've been very patient in Discord, dollar cost averaging. I said it would come back probably below $200, and it did that. It came to like 185. At this point, I have a decent cost basis. I still have room if it goes lower to add, and I'm continuing to monitor it and watch the earnings, each and every earnings. But here's the thing I'll say, and I've covered Snowflake a lot on the channel. In fact, in the last probably 6 weeks or so, I did about a 30-minute deep dive video. We're not going to cover it in detail today. I'm just going to give you some high-level information, just some general thoughts on Snowflake, and encourage you to go check out the video. There's a link above that's about a 30-minute video that talks about Snowflake, and it's just a conversation with me and the camera for the most part, talking about Mike Scarpelli and talking about Frank Slootman and their history together. And they're the best Batman and Robin duo really in the history of Wall Street. I mean, they've been everywhere they've been, they've crushed it. And I go into more detail on the video, but I made a ton of money with those guys with ServiceNow. I have confidence in them, and that's really why the conviction is so high. If it were a different management team, Snowflake would be a different story. I just believe in that management team. They know what they're doing. They've got a good sales team. And I think that stock is going to be worth a lot more, but it's going to take time for that stock really to grow into its valuation. Okay. So yes, it's expensive. Definitely wait for it to kind of pull back even from this level. I think it's around $250 right now, but it's one that I would hold for many years long-term and know that there's going to be volatility, but it's going to be worth a lot more in 5 or 10 years. That's my personal opinion. You got to do what's best for you and your portfolio. But they're on a path right now for $10 billion product revenue. And that 30-minute deep dive video I did really paints a good picture of how they're going to get there. So I encourage you to go watch that. But you think of the data cloud, and you think of secular tailwinds. We've been talking about secular growth trends this whole series. And you think of, digital adoption and digital transformation and understanding data. Data is very powerful. I call semiconductors the new oil. A lot of people call data the new oil. They're both basically equally as important, because the reason I call semiconductors the new oil, you need semiconductors for data. Because if I don't have semiconductors, I don't have data centers. If I don't have data centers, I don't have data. So it kind of, overrides that or trumps that, so to speak. So real quick on Snowflake, again, check out that video. Invest for growth. These are their key priorities. They're really about growth, and they're about shareholder value, right? So don't get it twisted. Those guys are there to make shareholders money, and they're incentivized to do so. So they're going to get it done. Okay. It's actually really interesting too. They just moved their headquarters to like a random location, like basically a mailbox, like a Main Street location in Bozeman, Montana. Very random. So you see these companies, you think of like Palantir, they moved away from California to, I think, Denver, Colorado. You've got Snowflake moving to Bozeman, Montana. Just kind of a funny thing to bring up. So things are becoming less and less San Francisco, I guess, so to speak. It's kind of funny how, really when you think about all these cloud stocks, what we're talking about, enable that work from anywhere, and the ability to not have to be in Silicon Valley, to have workers anywhere really in the world and have really powerful companies that get stuff done. So we're in this new digital era, and it's only going to accelerate from here, especially when you think of 5G and how 5G can just unlock the doors with speed and acceleration for all these products. The cloud's going to be a big part of that, and that's why I'm invested in it. And that's why I'm a long-term investor in this secular growth trend. So they have hyper focus on product gross margin expansion. Good for an investor, right? They have a march towards generating meaningful free cash flow, which is good as an investor, of course, and continued operating margin leverage. These guys know what they're doing, right? And again, watch that video. It's going to really give you a good idea of what Snowflake's all about and why I'm so bullish on it. But Snowflake is number 3 on the list. Which one is next? So number 2 was actually number 3. I do own more Cloudflare at this point. It's kind of grown into that valuation. Now, this was a Discord buy. It was one of the first Discord buys when we first started Discord about a year ago. It was basically end of July 2020. And that stock had been beat down. It got to like $40. I said it was a buy around 40. I remember it went till as low as like 33, and people were panicking like, oh my goodness, I bought it at 35. What should I do? Well, now it's, it was just $110. It pulled back, but it was just $110 stock. It pulled back in the last couple of days. It's trading around. This morning it got as low as 101.77, and it's made a little bit of recovery since then. But don't get me wrong, these stocks are expensive. All the stocks really on this list are expensive. Salesforce is the only one that really isn't terribly expensive. That's because it's more mature growth. It's been around for a long time. It's not in the hyper growth phase. But Cloudflare is trading in the high 60s price to sales. I think it got as high as like a 70 price to sales in that range. So it's one of the more expensive stocks on the list. Snowflake that we just covered is even more expensive than Cloudflare. Although Snowflake's not as expensive as it once was, because it was a $400 stock. It's come back. It's pulled back quite a bit, and they've had earnings since it was really, really high. So it's kind of grown in that valuation a little bit. And some of these stocks, that might happen. They could trade sideways for, a year until they kind of catch up on their growth or on their valuation. So every time one of these companies has an earnings report though, and they have a 50, 60, 70, 80, 100% year-over-year revenue growth, that's just making it, a little bit less expensive. So you're paying up, you're paying a premium for this growth. And this is what's hard for a lot of people to understand. If you're used to value investing, it's really hard for you to grasp like why somebody would pay a 60 price of sales. And you could argue that you never should, but the market still does. Some people that appreciate what these stocks can do in terms of growth, and they understand the businesses and they think they're gonna be worth a lot more in the future, they're paying a premium now buying the stock, knowing that there could be volatility. There might be ups and downs. You probably have to dollar cost average, save room for dips, but knowing that it's going to be worth more in 5 to 10 years. And that's really what growth investing is all about. And either you understand that or you don't. If you don't have the risk appetite for that, these stocks might not be for you. Maybe it's just a part of your portfolio. Some people, their entire portfolio is very aggressive and high risk reward and high growth. So these stocks all have risk, but they also have tremendous reward. And that's how it works. There's always going to be risk when there's a lot of reward. The higher the potential reward, the higher the risk is. So, Look at some of the key metrics. This is of March 31st, 2021. It's an investor presentation, but these guys have been around since 2010. They've got a great leadership team. 4.1 million free and paying customers. So they've got a combination of free customers and paying. 200 plus cities in their network. Now, this is the one I was talking about earlier, that they have data centers, all over the world, basically global data centers. Now, Zscaler, I mentioned earlier, Zscaler and Cloudflare compete in specific areas. So Zscaler is kind of best of breed of what they do, and we covered it earlier. And now Cloudflare is getting more into that security line. So the thing about Cloudflare, and you think of their total addressable market, it's grown significantly. If you're in this stock a year or two ago, this company looks completely different in terms of their runway, which is why that price of sales is a little bit higher than some of the other companies. I'm just going to take my camera off so you can see the screen here, but you see 1,931 employees. You got 77% gross margin. 17% of Fortune 1000 are paying customers. And you can see the compound annual growth rate. You can see from 2019 to 2021, the customers have grown, the total revenue has grown, et cetera. So these guys are trending up. And let's keep looking. Their mission simply is to help build a better internet. The internet was not built for what it has become. This is an old ARPANET, if you're familiar. 1977, this is the first internet and what it looked like here on the right-hand side of your screen. Pretty cool stuff. From endless hardware to a global cloud platform. So you got, Band-Aid boxes, then you got better internet. Easy to use, flexible, scalable, unified, serverless cloud architecture, cloud, hybrid, on-prem, and SaaS, right? So you need a combination because not everybody's full SaaS. Some are going to be hybrid cloud. You got broad integrated product platform. So they call this the global cloud platform. When you think really of cloud stocks, this is like the epitome of cloud because it covers so many different things. And it's amazing if you really dig into Cloudflare. Another stock that I do like in this space, more in the CDN type space, is Fastly. Ticker is FSLY. Now, if you recall, back in Discord, I made a post. It was last August. It was about a year ago. And I bought Fastly at like $19, and I had a bunch of it. I made a ton of money on Fastly, and I basically sold a bunch of it, a 500 or 600% gain on Fastly. And I posted on Patreon like, hey, and on Discord, I said, hey, I like Fastly long. I think it's run too hard, too fast. I think it's going to come back. And when I look at this space, I actually like what Cloudflare is doing. I'm going to sell Fastly. I kept 100 shares of house profit. I did cash covered calls on that. In fact, I did cash covered calls for $190. It was at 110. Fastly was at $110 a share, and it dropped all the way down to the 50s. But I took money. I took 500 or 600% profit on Fastly, and I bought more Cloudflare net, and it was at $35, $40, and that was a really, really good move. The people that were in Discord back then, they remember that, and they definitely, respect that move and that decision, because I had a lot of people tell me I was wrong, that Fastly was better, that I was an idiot to sell Fastly, that I should buy more at 110 because it's just going to go to the moon. And, maybe long term, both of those stocks do well, but over the last year, that's definitely been the right call. And Cloudflare, has made a huge run since that $35, $40 range, but it was the right call. Took profits on Fastly. Fastly pulled way back, and at the same time, Cloudflare has been running the other direction and going higher. And the reason for that is Cloudflare, they came out with Cloudflare One, so that zero trust. They've got some really strong partnerships. They partner with, in fact, the next one on the list, they partner with those guys, and there's some others. But they have an excellent management team. Matthew Prince is the CEO. Again, they've been around since 2010, and they partner with the next stock on the list, the number one stock on the list. These two stocks, this one and number one, they're expensive as all get out right now, but we've been bullish on them for a while. I've been buying Cloudflare since the IPO, number one on the list. I almost said the name. I've been buying that. I think most of you probably know what number one is anyway, but I've been buying these stocks since the IPOs, back in 2019, and Fastly was back in 2019. So I've been in this space for a while, and a lot of people are just catching on to it and chasing. Just be careful of chasing, FOMO, no FOMO. Be careful of chasing some of these stocks at these really high prices. I said this earlier, but I'll say it again. I could spend an hour on each of these stocks. Now, I do have several videos on Cloudflare on the channel, so check out the channel, subscribe. Make sure you like, drop a comment. Integrated cloud platform. So what does that look like? This gives you a decent snapshot of what we're talking about. So Cloudflare One, okay, you got Cloudflare serverless developer platform. You've got the global network. Okay. So when you think of the global network, you think of edge cloud, you think they've got things like CDNs, but they're also doing a lot more than that. And you can see on your screen all the different things they're focused on. This is an excellent slide. So global edge, they have 200 plus cities. 9,500 interconnects. They even have a China network, right? You've got the building blocks. You got the compliance and privacy, right? On the top. So that zero trust services. You think of Cloudflare for Team Suite. Okay, a lot of this stuff is new. They've come out with lots of new products over the last year or so. So VPN, content filtering, remote browser isolation, data loss prevention, access management. I mean, think of a cloud stock and you think of the Internet of Things, you think of 5G, you think of just the future of cloud. These guys have it covered, right? You think of cloud stocks. I mean, this could easily be number one on the list if you're just going for like, what's the best stock that I can capture the most as the cloud, right? You think of just what the cloud is all about and what companies touch the cloud every single day. I mean, this easily could be number one on the list for that reason. In the middle, you got Cloudflare Network Services, you got Magic Transit, you got the interconnect, you got the smart routing, you got the firewalls of service. So they do like the DDoS, things like that with the web application firewalls, rate limiting, load balancing, bot management, video delivery, CDNs. And a lot of people just think, oh, Fastly and Cloudflare, they do CDNs, and that's it. You're like, no. Especially when you think of Cloudflare, they've really grown their suite of products, and they're so much more now than just CDNs. In the very middle there, that Cloudflare serverless developer platform, you've got the workers. This is something a buddy of mine, he actually competed against Cloudflare, and I talked to him, and he talked a lot about these workers and how they're very powerful for teams. Pages, durable objects, video streaming. So you think of that cloud edge, and you think of CDNs, and you think of streaming, and you think of security of data, DDoS attacks. This stock is all about it. Operate on a massive scale. 70 billion cyber threats blocked per day. 70 billion cyber threats blocked per day. 4.1 million total customers, and 17% of the Fortune 1000 are paying customers. 48% of the revenue is actually from outside of the US. So a very global company. There's still a lot of room for growth for this company. And they're just in their infancy when you talk about some of these security platforms that they do. It is a threat to Zscaler. Now, what I will say is that I own the least amount of shares and just overall dollar amount of Zscaler of this top five. So I will say that. I think though that Zscaler still fits in that four horsemen, okay? And on the next stock, when I get to number one, I'll talk about the four horsemen and I'll announce those four stocks. So definitely stay tuned for that. So what is it? What is the number one stock on my cloud top 10 list? Stay tuned. All right, guys, it's time for number one. But wait, before we get into that, hold up. I'm going to have some bonus picks at the end because there's a lot of stocks I own that I like in this cloud SaaS space. So definitely stay tuned because there's a lot more stocks here at the end and you're going to see what those stocks are. And for anybody that's like, why didn't my stock make the list? It's probably going to be on the bonus pick list. Okay. So just stay tuned. Now, what I'm going to do next is cover the four horsemen, and I'm going to end the four horsemen with the stock that's number one on the list. So when I talk about the four horsemen, you've got Adka, which is a bonus pick. Okay. So I'm covering that now, but Adka, I do own some of that. That's about identity management. I do have a video on the channel that essentially compares Adka and Ping Identity, those two stocks. So definitely check out that video if you want more information on Adka. I do own some shares. It didn't make my top 10, but I do like the stock a lot. It's part of the four horsemen when you think of cloud security stocks. Okay, so you've got Adka is one of the four horsemen, and that's for identity management, so the cloud four horsemen. The second stock on that list is going to be Cloudflare that we just covered. Then it's going to be Zscaler, which we already covered. Okay, so you've got two of the four that are actually in the top five for this series, right? So you've got Zscaler, you got Cloudflare, you've got Adka. What's the last one? Of course, it's CrowdStrike. So CrowdStrike is all about endpoint security. I've been bullish in the stock since the IPO. I've added along the way, up nicely on the stock. You know, SentinelOne just came out with an IPO. I like SentinelOne. I think the stock is, I think the company is attractive. I just don't think the stock price is attractive. If you look at the valuation on it, the last time I looked, I think the price of sales was something like double. I mean, it was like 100. Let me just check this because I have it in Discord. I want to make sure I have these numbers right here for you. But Sentinel-1, I mean, it was crazy expensive. It was expensive even when it opened. So 120 price to sales, okay? CrowdStrike, at the time of this was yesterday, and it's come down a little bit. Both stocks have come down a little bit, but just general numbers here. So Sentinel-1, ticker S, and I did a video on Sentinel-1 compared it to CrowdStrike. So again, subscribe to the channel, check it out. If you like this, there's a playlist that has all this information. You could spend a few hours learning about cloud stocks. I think you would feel much better about the space. But Sentinel-1, it broke 120 price to sales. It's come back a little bit. CrowdStrike is a 58. So literally Sentinel-1's trading at, 100% premium to CrowdStrike, and I don't agree with that. I think CrowdStrike is best of breed for endpoint security. I do like Sentinel-1. I think there's a massive total addressable market. There's a lot of players that can be successful in that space. And I've covered CrowdStrike on the channel before, so I'm not going to go into a deep dive on it, but I want to show you a couple things here, so stay tuned. Okay, so if you follow the channel, you've watched the CrowdStrike videos on Fired Up Wealth YouTube, you've seen this slide before, but category defining cloud platform. So Salesforce CRM, which was number 10 on this list. You've got Service Cloud Management with ServiceNow. I do own that stock as well. So that could be a bonus pick, I guess, on the list. I think a lot of the hyper growth has gone from ServiceNow, although I read something the other day that they basically have barely penetrated the market and there's a lot of runway. So I'm still holding ServiceNow long. I just think the price is pretty expensive. It could easily be on the top 10. The problem with all these stocks, there's just so many good ones. It's hard to do a top 10. Workday I owned for a long time. I did sell, but I'd still like that stock. It's kind of more of a mature type growth stock, like a Salesforce CRM. And then security cloud. So CrowdStrike's been around since 2011. You think of Salesforce. This was back in 1999. A lot of people don't realize Salesforce has been around a long time. Mark Benioff was an Oracle guy. I used to work for Oracle. So I kind of have a soft spot in my heart for a few of these stocks, like Veeva. It's another one that could be a bonus pick. Veeva Systems, more on the life sciences space. But Peter Gassner, he came from Oracle and now runs Veeva. You got Salesforce with Mark Benioff, the CEO. He came from Oracle, runs Salesforce. ServiceNow, that's where Slootman and Scarpelli, the CEO and the CFO of Snowflake, that's where they were before Snowflake. And now the CEO there, really good CEO, came from SAP. You got Workday, another Oracle. Those guys came from Oracle to start Workday as well. And then you got CrowdStrike in 2011. But you'll notice there's a lot of Oracle connections when you think of the cloud space, and that's where I used to work. So I feel like I have a good understanding what these companies do, what they're all about. And CrowdStrike's really trying to be that security cloud, that next best thing when you think of cloud applications. They're trying to achieve $1 billion of ARR, annual recurring revenue, and they want to achieve also $3 billion. They talk about on this investor presentation how they're going to do that through innovation, capture secular trends, what we've been talking about this whole series, secular growth trends, expand their TAM, their total addressable market. They want to build more products and find new areas of business, not only for existing clients, but for new clients, more international clients. They want to gain market share and they want to increase wallet share, basically keep more of the money, have higher margins. This is kind of a cool slide here because it talks about a lot of the stocks we've been covering. And you could argue that any of the stocks on here could easily make a cloud, top 10 video or whatever, right? So Zoom, you can see Zoom, that was on the list, right? You got Twilio. You seeing any trends here, guys? Look at the subscription revenue run rate. There's a reason why these stocks are in my portfolio. There's a reason why I consider them the best of breed for what they do. Zoom, Twilio, DocuSign, CrowdStrike, Adka, we just talked about a little earlier, Snowflake, Datadog, Zscaler, Coupa, and Cloudflare. Coupa's another one. I just never really got into that stock, but it's one that could easily, be a bonus pick. Subscription revenue run rate year-over-year growth. You got the same kind of companies again. You took like 369% for Zoom. Okay, Snowflake, 116%, CrowdStrike, 77%, Twilio, 65%. Look at some of these numbers. You can see Coupa's 37%, and that's part of the reason why it's never really made my portfolio. It just hasn't had the same growth as some of these other ones. You think of Oddcuts, also has a little bit lower end growth. But then you got, Cloudflare at 50%. I just think that Cloudflare, some of the stuff they're doing and the ability to grow from here, to me, it just seems like there's a lot of, room to run yet for Cloudflare. But all these are really good stocks. I think this is a really cool, rule of 40% LTM. Look at Zoom, 363% crowd. So all these stocks are above this LTM rule of 40%. That's what you want if you're buying cloud SaaS stocks. On the bottom right, you got the average payback period in months. Crowd is the second best on the list. But really cool slide here. I thought I'd share it with you. So when you think of the IPO, which is just back in 2019. It hasn't been that long. The Falcon platform, so CrowdStrike Falcon, that's their platform, right? They had 10 different modules at the IPO. It's now expanded to 19. So almost grown by 100%, almost doubled. And you can see some of the modules. I'll actually take my camera off so you can look at this a little bit better. But here's the 19 modules today. So endpoint security, and again, all these companies, all these stocks are expanding to other areas, right? And some of them, they compete in certain areas. They also partner in certain areas. We got endpoint security, cloud security, managed services, security and IT operations. They've got all this different stuff and a lightweight agent. When you look at CrowdStrike on their website, they have a comparison, and you can go watch this video and it talks about it. I've got it on the channel, but SentinelOne and CrowdStrike, how CrowdStrike is more lightweight than SentinelOne and what have you. And again, this company was built in the cloud for the cloud, right? SentinelOne, you can't say that. And you can say that about Datadog and the stocks again on this list. These are built in the cloud for the cloud on this top 5 list. FY21 key technology achievements. You got identity security, cloud security, zero trust. So they've got a partnership with Cloudflare for this zero trust. Okay, so it's a really big deal. Cloudflare One integrates. In fact, when you look at Cloudflare One, they're partnering now with CrowdStrike, with SentinelOne, and also with VMware Carbon Black. Okay, so that's some of the partnerships that's going on in the space. I really like Cloudflare and CrowdStrike together. I think those two companies are really dangerous together. That's why they're number 1 and number 2 on my list. And look at this, guys. Have we seen a trend yet? Okay, have we seen a trend yet? Strong secular themes driving demand, secular growth trends, digital transformation. There it is again. Emerging cloud workloads, elevated threat environment. And you keep seeing every day there's a new cybersecurity breach. There was just one, in fact, over 4th of July, there was another cybersecurity attack. So this is not going away. There's a ton of room for growth. You think of Biden, they have this infrastructure plan. They're going to focus more on cybersecurity. I think CrowdStrike is really well positioned. They're a moat, in my opinion. They're best of breed when you think of endpoint security, and they're building a lot of great tools around that to support it. In fact, this is what they think their TAM is. So you think a potential TAM in FY25, $106 billion, okay? Now with current priorities, you can see at IPO. So at IPO, it was a $25 billion TAM, and now they're saying in the next 4 years, it's $106 billion TAM. This is huge, and this is really why it makes number 1 on the list. This is their estimated global unit opportunity. And of course, this is on an investor slide deck, so it's going to be, sugar-coated a little bit perhaps. But even if they fail this number and they get close to it, it's pretty amazing growth even from this point. 900 million global PC units, 6 billion mobile devices. You think of 5G again, this is going to open up the door for a lot of these cloud companies. You think of cloud guys, a lot of people think that these stocks have kind of made their run because of COVID and that it's going to go away. These stocks do not go away when COVID goes away. And we're in early innings. I think we're like in the 3rd or 4th inning. Some people say we're in the 1st or 2nd inning, right? But I think there's a lot of room for growth when you think of just cloud infrastructure, both in the United States and globally, and it's just going to continue to grow. These companies that innovate, they're going to continue to make it better, to make it faster. And, until the internet's completely displaced, these are the companies that are going to dominate. And I can't think of anything in the near future that's necessarily going to replace that. And as long as they're always evolving and keeping up with R&D, they're going to have products that kind of fit the need for whatever that need might be in the future as well. 70 million global servers and 10 billion global Internet of Things devices. So everything from connected phones, connected houses, Alexa devices. There's so much opportunity when you think of these cloud stocks. A lot of people just think of it as, only big organizations that have to buy like CrowdStrike and use it for endpoint security. There's just so much more opportunity out there than really most people give these stocks and these companies credit for. This is kind of a cool slide. The pioneers that we talked about earlier, ServiceNow, 7K, Workday, 8K, CrowdStrike, 10K, Salesforce, 150K. Customers, there's a lot of customers. To my point earlier, what I was talking about early innings, significant headroom to acquire new logos. Look at this. This actually makes me more bullish on ServiceNow when I look at this, like 7K, thinking wow, there's a lot of room for growth for ServiceNow yet too. But CrowdStrike's down here at 10K. Look at ADP on the far right, 860K. You've got Salesforce, 150K. I was actually surprised to see Box with 100K, to be honest with you. But man, there's a lot of room for growth. And of course, CrowdStrike has lots of competition. There's no question. SentinelOne that we talked about, there's plenty of others. But CrowdStrike, if you really dig under the hood, it's really the best at what they do, especially around the endpoint security. I don't think anybody would argue with you that CrowdStrike's not best of breed for endpoint security. Securing the cloud, 10x, workloads, complexity, and opportunity. The other thing I like about CrowdStrike too is that they do a great job with their advertising and marketing, and they just do a great job with that. I mean, if you go to their website, they have like these cartoon characters they use for different crime organizations. They just acquired Humio, so that's important to notice. Exponential data growth, complexity, budget pressures, legacy vendors. So Humio, log everything, answer everything in real time. This is going to give, again, where all these companies are expanding to kind of compete with each other. They partner in some areas, compete in other areas. So technology advantages, you've got, you see cloud native, again, another cloud native product. That's good. Best of breed, cloud native. Speed, scale, efficiency, flexibility. This is what Humio is all about. Redefining XDR. If you watch the Sentinel-1 video, it talks about XDR. CrowdStrike and Humio together, it's going to allow these guys to compete in different areas, like with Sentinel-1, even kind of crossover with some other companies as well. Core product enhancements. So you got the Overwatch, Complete, Intel, Threat Graph, Services, Store. This is CrowdStrike and Humio together. Makes a very, very powerful machine. And the problem with this stock, guys, is it gets me fired up, and I could literally just keep talking about this forever, and I can't because nobody watches these videos when they get this long. So, year of milestones, though, this is for 2020. It surpassed $1 billion of annual recurring revenue, added $450 million in net new ARR. Do you think any of this stuff's going to slow down? You think it's going to slow down because of post-COVID? Do you think that we don't need cybersecurity when COVID's gone? Don't fool yourself. CrowdStrike's here to stay. CrowdStrike is the number one on the list. It's here to stay. It's my favorite stock in the cloud space. It's tough to pick these. It really is. I like all the stocks on here. And next, I'm going to give you a list of bonus stocks that I actually own in my portfolio that I think would be a good investment in the cloud space as well, but just didn't quite make the top 10 list. So stay tuned. It's Easter egg time. So for those that actually watch the video in its entirety, I appreciate you guys more than you probably realize because, you do a video that's 30 minutes long, you get like a 7-minute watch time, which actually isn't a terrible watch time when you think of YouTube. Most people have attention spans of like a couple minutes. This channel is a niche channel. It is, right? It's not doing YOLO 5-minute, like buy the stock now. I'm trying to give you information so you can understand these companies a little better, help you with your due diligence. I'm not a financial advisor. I'm not telling you what to buy or what to sell. I'm giving you information to help you with your decisions, and you need to take this information, dig into it further, do your own homework, do your own due diligence, and make your own decisions and buy what you like. So here's what I'm going to do for you since you've stayed this long, and I'm going to actually give you bonus picks as well. So this is a double bonus for the ones that are patient. So how much do I own in these individual stocks? I'll give you my top 3 just for fun. So CrowdStrike, at the time of this video when I recorded it, I owned about $30,000 worth. Snowflake, about $26,000 worth. And I wouldn't mind adding more to both of these. My portfolio as of today is just under $1.6 million. It's come down a little bit from the highs. So we'll call it a $1.6 million portfolio. I've got, about 2%, give or take, of CrowdStrike, around 30,000, a little less than 2%. Snowflake, I've got 26,000. Cloudflare, I have $38,000. Now, Cloudflare, all these have really grown into their, especially, Cloudflare has grown the most, and that one's up several 100%. I'll give you that one just real quick here. So that's up 460. Oh, no, that's it's Nike. So, sorry, that's Nike. So Cloudflare's up 224% since I bought it. It was a Discord buy. Check out Patreon Discord if you want to join us there. CrowdStrike is up 162%. That was another Discord buy. I did own some shares of both of these at the IPO. So both of these, I believe, were 2019 IPOs, and I did own kind of starter positions, never filled out the positions, and then added more in Discord. But that's what I'm up on those. Now, Snowflake, I'm only up about 10%. I've got about $26,000. So if you add those together, it's roughly $100,000. So CrowdStrike, $30,000, Snowflake, $26,000, and Cloudflare is $38,000. The fourth largest of the top 10, even though it's actually number 7 on the list, is Trade Desk. That one also has grown into its valuation. I covered that on Fired Up Wealth in 2019, actually, and it was a stock that I bought much lower. So that one, I'm up a couple 100% on that one. And I do have, it looks like 350 shares of Trade Desk, and that's worth about $27,000 at the time of this recording. So that's kind of, you can see I don't have a ton of concentration. I like to have 1, 2, 3% type holdings in my portfolio. Amazon's the largest position. I've got, Apple. A lot of those have grown in those positions. So I generally buy, $10, $12, $15,000. So when the portfolio was smaller, I was buying $5,000 and $10,000 positions, and they've grown to, much larger positions over time. So that's your Easter egg for the ones that are patient, to give you an idea of what I own. I wouldn't mind owning more of all these. Snowflake is the one I'm focused on to add more, just because I think it might come down a little lower, and I'll keep adding some shares. So, but those are the top three, Crowd, Snowflake, and Net. Okay. So the series, what stocks we've covered, and I've mentioned some bonus picks along the way. So watch the entire, series. There's 2 videos. Watch them from A to Z, because there's lots of nuggets of information and really good information, and even some bonus picks along the way. So I'm going to give you a list, and it might not be all inclusive because I might have already talked about some of these. And there's actually a couple of stocks that I can't mention, just because I bought some shares today, so I can't discuss them. But I'll discuss the ones I can. So, of course, Microsoft, Amazon, and Google, I've owned these stocks for a long time. And, they've done very well for me. Now, I own these because you think of, Amazon Web Services, you think of Azure, and you think of Google Cloud Platform. So when you think of cloud, these are those cloud kind of data storage providers. So those companies are important, and you can easily argue that they should be on like a top 10 list. I'm trying to go for growth stocks, like, not mature growth, not, huge mega cap $1 trillion companies. I'm looking for smaller companies that give you more growth. But I like all those stocks. I don't know, necessarily know if they're a good fit for your portfolio or not. You can make that decision. So please hear me that I do own, decent positions of Microsoft, Google, and Amazon. In fact, I own more of those 3 stocks than any other stocks I talked about so far. Okay. So those are more of those, 2 to 3%. In fact, Amazon, I think, is probably closer to, maybe 5 or 6% of the portfolio. Another one I like, I've got, so Adobe I already talked about. We talked about Adka. Fastly we talked about. Palantir, this is one that was a Discord buy for $9. If you, are interested in more information about Palantir, again, subscribe, check out the playlist. There's a couple of different videos. I brought Palantir to YouTube. It was the very first Palantir video before all the hype and before, everything that goes around that stock. It's kind of categorized in that Wall Street Bets kind of group, meme type stock, but it's a great company, and I'm holding that long. It could have easily made the top 10, but it didn't. So Palantir's on there. Telos is another cybersecurity stock that I own. It was a Discord buy that has gone up about 70% since the buy. It's a smaller cap type company, similar to a Palantir, but much smaller, but does a lot of government work. And a lot of that's around that cybersecurity and analytics. You've got Microsoft, Google, Amazon, we already talked about. So Blackline, Olo is another one I did a video on, Olo. Another stock that I hope will come public is Databricks. I'd love to own some of that. And I'm probably missing a couple stocks in here, guys, but you get the gist of it. There's a lot of great stocks in this space. So by no means, if it's not on this list, it doesn't mean I hate the stock or that you're bad if you own a different stock. I can name off a bunch of stocks. Every stock I name, though, I've got to disclose. So I'll keep the list kind of short. But there are a ton of stocks in cloud and SaaS that I think will do well over the next 5 or 10 years. If you want to play this space and you don't really want to mess with individual stocks, WCLD, I brought that to YouTube first. That is an ETF from Wisdom Tree. So that's WCLD. That's the Wisdom Tree Cloud Computing ETF. There's another one called CLOU. That's a cloud ETF. There's a mature type cloud ETF for more mature growth, has stuff like Oracle in it and things like that. Sky, SKYY. And there's probably some other ones out there as well, but those are the 3 that I like. The one that I like the best is WCLD. I do own WCLD in my taxable brokerage. I also own some in retirement, and I do have some Sky, SKYY, in my retirement. I do not own any CLOU, but a lot of people do like that. And there's, like I said, it's hard to go wrong in my opinion. When you think of cloud and SaaS names, there's just a lot of good ones that you can own. All right, guys, so that wraps it up. That gives you a snapshot into the cloud universe. If you like the cloud universe and you want to know more, subscribe to the channel, check out the playlist. There's going to be more videos coming. In fact, next week, I'm going to be covering a new IPO. It's already released that you can buy, and I'm going to cover this stock, so you'll want to check out that. Subscribe to the channel. We're just getting started. I do 2 videos. Right now I'm doing Tuesdays and Thursdays at 9 p.m. Eastern. It's a lot of work to give you 2 detailed, high quality edited videos in a week. This is what I'm doing full time. I'm basically doing this for you as a stock analyst because it's something I really enjoy. I'm financially independent and I'm doing this kind of as my hobby, but it's also, pays me some money too. So it's good. But I love doing this, guys. I'm not doing this for the money. I'm doing it because I really do enjoy it. I don't think that many people could do this 50 hours a week and not get tired of it unless they really loved it. Especially when I don't have to. I'm financially independent. I've got plenty of money. If I don't want to work, I don't have to. This is what I love to do. So subscribe because we are just getting started. We just broke 16,000 subscribers. I just started doing this full time in 2021, and I'm going to keep doing this for a long time. I'm still young. I've got a lot of years. Let's grow our wealth together. Let's learn together. If you like what this is all about and you want to be part of the private community, we have 400 people in a private Discord. There's 250 or so patrons. Join Patreon and get in the Discord. There's also a public tier that you can get into that's for free. If you're interested in that, drop a comment below and I can give you a link for that. If you don't agree with some of the stocks in the list, let me know. I'm not one of those people that I'm going to get upset because you don't agree with me. Let me know in the comments below. Let's have a conversation about it. Maybe I missed something. Maybe there's a stock that I should own that I don't. Maybe I own a stock and I've missed something that's a huge red flag. I make mistakes too. I've been doing this for 20 years, but I make mistakes too. But if you want to pay me back for the time invested to try to help you with this information, all you need to do, subscribe to the channel, hit the like button, drop a comment. If you want to go even deeper, join Discord. You can get Discord through Patreon. Again, Google Fired Up Wealth, Patreon, you'll find it. Join us on Discord. Check out the other platforms, Twitter, Facebook, all that. Appreciate your time and attention. I hope you have a great rest of your day. Take care.